I want to say thank you for having me here. Thanks to Diane McMillan, who is a lifelong friend of mine, who's been through some of the wars with me at the 13th Congressional of the Michigan Democratic Party. And she invited me to come and speak to you about the advancement of politics in the city of Detroit, in the state of Michigan, and Wayne County. You can find me, if you Google me, at ISHMAIL Terry, T as in Tom, E-R-R-Y. I've been in politics for over 15 years. I've worked with everyone from Mayor Kwame Kilpatrick to Governor Jennifer Granholm to Wayne County Commissioner Alicia Bell, to State Representative Fred Durhall Jr., and other hosts of other state reps and state senators. So I'm the guy that they contact when things go awry. I'm that dude. They pay me some good money to go ahead and make sure that bills are being passed through the state legislators, as well as the state senators, as well as the governor and other special interest groups. I'm also the Midwest Regional Director of My Brother's Keeper for the President of the United States. I deal with all of the mentoring programs throughout all of the Midwest regionals. So Michigan, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, I deal with all of their mentoring programs to make sure that they have resources and they have funds to be able to keep going. So in this, I guess we're talking about campaign and finances. So most people think that politicians, I'm a little comfortable again, most people think that we just have people who give us money just for when you run for office. It costs about $80,000 to run a complete successful campaign here in the state of Michigan. When you want to run for a state representative, it costs $120,000 to run for state senator. It costs over roughly about $3 to $4 million to run for governor. It costs you about $2 million to run for mayor. And it costs you $155,000 to run for city council and also Wayne County Commissioner. So with knowing that, majority of us do not have a job. So when we run for office, we like you, like parents, we have parents. There are unions, there are special interest groups, there are corporate entities, there are private entities like personal individuals who want to see you win. So they will donate money to your campaign. So when you start your campaign, you go to the nearest bank that you can find. And then you start with your EIN numbers and all of those things. And then you set up a precedent on how much you think you're going to make in your campaign, depending if you're a likable person and if you have experience. So in that, then you go around and shop around your name. You let people know that you are a candidate. You're going to go and spend your $100 at the city county building. You're going to go into there, raise your right hand and say, where I live is where I live. My address is my address. I'm paying my $100. And I'm going to follow by the state code that I live where I live. I pay my taxes and all of those wonderful things. As you then get on the ballot, then you have to campaign. You have to spend at least roughly about $400 on gas. Yeah, it's very expensive. You're spending about $400 on gas because you're going to, depending on where your district is, it could be a large district. So you got to cover all of those grounds.
You're saying a day?
Yeah, about $400 some a day on gas. So then you have people who may drive you. You may have to have somebody who drive you because, you know, sometimes campaigns can get a little nasty. So depending on who you're running against, you know, it can get a little violent. So you have to have some little protection to go with you. So then that right there can cost you another $300 to have somebody be there for you, a driver. And they probably going to carry, they got it because, you know, they carry a CCW, so they're going to have them a gun on them. So you got to be able to do all of those things. So I'm giving you kind of the one-on-one session on campaign finances. So then you got to report that. So everything by the 2 days before your campaign is over, you have to report that to the state treasury. You have to report all of your funding. And they'll go through the Michigan Democratic Party or your Republican Party. You'll go through that system and they'll tell you how to report it all in. But you have to report every nickel and dime that was sent to your campaign. If not, if you falsify it and you get caught, that's a 5-year felony. You can serve 5 years in prison for falsifying those information. So the other part is into this campaign, and you want to have a treasurer, someone that you can trust. Don't have your uncle who came out of prison. Don't have your grandma who's a drunk. Nobody. Somebody in your family has to be, or a friend, or somebody you know who's good with money, needs to be on your campaign. The other part is too, you need someone to be your person to tell you where you're going and where you're not going, how long you're going to be there for. Because like us politicians, we talk too much. We do. So in that conversation piece, you need someone to be like, okay, it's time to go. You got to go to the next meeting. We got to go to the next function. Because you'll be there all day. Once you're a candidate, everybody wants your attention. Everybody wants to see what you know. Everybody wants to hear what you got to say. And if they believe you're not, then they want to keep you even longer. So I had the dubious task of making sure that plenty of state representatives and plenty of senators and even Governor Greenholm make sure that they stay in their seats. Because it was my job to make sure that those budgets that we were looking like we were going to shut down government, because we have to hold government, we have the budget by October 1 of every other year. So every second year, we have to make sure that the budget even. So because of that, if the budget is not even, of course, then we have the problem of shutting down government. Like you saw with the federal, you'll see the same thing with the state. If the state shut down government, then all departments are closed. No one get paid, and everybody be angry. So, government for me is fun. I love it. That's what I do. That's been my opportunity in life. I get a chance to see what public procedures, public policy really do when I got in. When I got involved in 2004, 2005, I actually worked for free. Now, I talked to everybody. She didn't even know that at one time. But I worked in the Michigan House of Representatives totally free. Because I wanted to learn the system. I really wanted to be not just a regular politician. I wanted to be the person who knew how the ins and outs work, like what the inside really does. So most people don't understand that in politics, inside the state, inside the city, inside the county and municipalities, you have everything from caucuses to committees, standing committees. So in those caucuses, that's where people like me and the state representatives and the senators go, where we decide how we're going to pass the bill. So then we talk with the House Speaker, and the House Speaker only comes out the room. Right, raccoons over here. My brother didn't get bit. So, what I was saying, the House Speaker and the majority are only ran by the party that is in the majority. So the House Speaker, like we have Republicans who run the show now. So the House Speaker is Republican. The majority is Republican. The minority is Democrat. And so within that, those speakers from different parties or from the same party come with the governor and discuss what bills needs to be on the House floor or on the Senate floor. So then in creating a public policy, we have it where we call it the blue bag. In that is a blue folder. It's just a blue folder. It's like a blue at the bottom and it's just a whole bunch of paper. And in that paper, it pulls out all of the language that will change the bill. So instead of writing a whole bill out, we'll take an old bill that was born in probably 1927, and we'll say, we don't like the language of that bill. So one of the state legislators will make a proposal on that bill. We'll take it inside the office, and then we'll get the fiscal agencies and other agencies together, and we'll sit there and dissect that bill. And all we do is replace language on that bill by just cutting it out. And then we put our new language in it. Then we shop it around, just like how you do on a campaign. You do it on the state floor. So what you do is you contact the department that say like you're doing it in education. So I'm changing the language in the bill that has to do with education. So now I have to go shopping it around. Now I have to get co-sponsors. And I know some of you may have heard those that language where it says sponsor and co-sponsor in the bill. Well, the sponsor of the bill is the representative or the senator who's writing the bill, who's putting the bill out there behind his name. The co-sponsors are all of the other reps and all of the other senators who are going to sponsor that bill, co-sponsor. So they're going to support him or her on that bill. So within that, then it goes to the standing committee. So in that standing committee, it may be the Department of Education committee. So you have at least 9 representatives on that standing committee alone. So you'll have, and whoever's the majority will have more in that standing committee than the minority. So you'll have maybe 5, 6 representatives from the Republican Party and maybe 3 from the Democratic Party. And the chair will always be the majority party member. It will never be the minority party member unless it's a committee that has no power. And that's the only way that the minority party member can be chair of that committee, that standing committee.
What committee would that be?
So agriculture, wildlife, things of that nature. Those things that don't have a kind of a bearing on us as citizens here in the state of Michigan, we'll put you on that chair. But the biggest chair is appropriation. Appropriation deals with every state department in the state of Michigan. And if you are the chair of that department, you have as much power as the governor and the speakers. So that's why Democrats and Republicans really fight tooth and nail to get more party members in those seats. It's 112 members. In that, we used to have 12 members representing Detroit. Now, because of the moving around, now we lost 2 seats and we have 10 members. Where all other villages and townships and cities, they would have only 1 member. So the city of Detroit has the largest members inside of the state house and state senate. So now people ask the question, well, if you got that many people, more than what they have, why didn't Detroit get the worst end of the stick? Well, Detroit doesn't actually get the worst end of the stick. What happens is during appropriation, when Detroit gets 80% of the funding coming to us from federal money, okay? So within 80% of that funding that goes into the city of Detroit, doesn't only go to the city of Detroit. It has to go to Wayne County as well. So, because Wayne County is the largest county and the city of Detroit is the largest city, we have to share. So then in that cycle, then we have to then cipher out to Oakland County, Macomb County, and Washington County, and all those other cities and villages and townships. It's our job to move that money to where it needs to go in those different departments. So we have to then start looking at the deficit, the $300 to $700 million deficit that we do have here in Michigan. And we now have to start figuring out how to trim the fat. Within that, then we have to start kind of laying off people. And then we have to start looking at what other things that's causing us to be in the deficit that we're in. So as y'all may have seen, it was the pension. The pension was $780 million. Driving the state of Michigan, though, to $375 million in the hole. So we were trying to figure out. Yes,
when did that deficit start? Because I remember 2 years ago we were in a surplus.
But the surplus was only in the 70s into the 80s. Into the mid 80s, until 85, 86, that's when the deficit started to creep. Because then the population growth started to diminish. People were leaving Wayne County and people were leaving the city of Detroit. So because of that, we were trying to focus on what makes sense on putting funding elsewhere and then closing down things and laying off. So people were very upset at the time in the, right about the mid 80s, going down towards the 2000s until present.
You talking about the county, not the state?
No, I'm talking about the whole state.
Okay.
So because of that, we had to start looking at who were the bigger components. We saw that the city of Detroit were getting a lot more of the funds, as well as Wayne County. So we started ciphering out money from those two pots to start keeping the state afloat. So then that's when you start seeing the deficit start to grow in Detroit public schools, start seeing water department and the federal government had to be here because we were taking money from those areas. We were taking money from the Department of Human Services, creating different programs that will be able to, one, keep you functioning, but then also keeping the state moving forward. These are the true commitments that people don't see behind the doors that we have to argue about when we up in Lansing. Because when one party wants to, a conservative party or a liberal party, wants to shut down another department, we fight till 4 o'clock in the morning to make sure that department isn't closed. And we sit there until we get it done. Because one thing we do not need is a shutdown in this state. Complete shutdown would actually destroy the state. So we work hard to make sure that this state stays open and moving forward. Now, yes, we have some challenges. Yes, we're going through some tough times. Yes, I was in the House of Representatives when the COBO deal, where we had a decision to make. COBO was $130 million in the hole, $50,000 to keep it manageable. We asked the city, could you keep $50,000 going to make sure that COBO can stay functioning? Now at that time, George Cushenberry was the chair of appropriation. We asked the city, at that time it was Ken Cockrell was the chair or the president of Detroit City Council. And Dave Bing was in as mayor. We asked them, could they keep $50,000 manageable to keep COBO open? They said no. They signed the consent to make sure that the COBO will come over to us and that we would actually then move it into an authority and have an oversight committee to be able to make sure that the finances were going to be stable inside of the COBO. Now, we did talk about bailout at that time in 2002, but we had to do a public conversation with people. And so people were very, very, very happy about the idea that the city would charge people to come on bailout, because it would brought us $68.5 million in a profit if we would have charged, if the city would have charged. But they, being city council, decided that wasn't suitable. So then we had to go back to the drawing board. We had to sit down and figure out a game plan to get bailout to be where is it at now. So then we decided, okay, well, this is the time where we're going to start looking at creating a consent agreement. And in this consent agreement, it was laid out. This is what we want to do to be able to build a stronger city. Because we knew that first, the city of Detroit had to have finances that was going to be stable for the next 20, 50 years. So what made sense? Go after the things that was depleting the city, bring that down, and then bring some other finances on top of it to make sure that it stays stable. The things that we went at was pensions, as y'all saw, with the retirees. We started looking at bailout, how it makes sense to make money off of that. We started looking at the State Department and the Treasury Department working side to side with the mayor. So when you saw Andy Dillon on news here in Detroit, and then the consent agreement was to build a stronger relationship between city and state, because we had maybe 12 years of separation between us. And yes, that was the Engler era, and then Blanchard, Blanchard, then Engler, then Granholm. But we were trying to say, okay, let's move all of that apart, all that separation apart, and let's build a stronger state. And we need the city of Detroit. If anyone ever tells you from the state of Michigan up in Lansing, any of us from Lansing say we don't need the city of Detroit, walk out the door. Because he's lying to you. How Detroit goes is how the rest of the state goes. 140 acres of land, the largest almost in 50 states. Only the second one is Texas. You can set 4 of the cities in this city. And so we know that. So we recognize those issues. So what we did was, we had to do what we had to do. We had to make a decision that was tough on every citizen in the state of Michigan. And that was creating consent agreements that would be, we had to go at pensions. I know, and everybody didn't like those things. Well,
that's my Starbucks thing, I get upset.
I understand.
No,
I'm used to it. I'm used to it. I can get that. I can get why you're upset about it. My mom be on me too. She be like, I'm retired. I'm like, I know. She be like, I gotta pay state taxes. I know. I never had to. I understand. Now you do. We gotta keep the city afloat. But the problem is this. Yes, we could find different avenues to find money to do what we need to do to build up the city. The problem is that you have so many people with their hands in the cookie jar, you don't know who is who, and then when you find out who it is, now you like this, like, oh God, I gotta deal with that person. I don't wanna really deal with that person. So then you come up with different avenues. Now, I did bring this up to the governor on Monday, that we would actually start charging people $1, because we were running into the problem that y'all saw in the news. The mayor was charging too much to tear down homes, right? $13,000, $22,000, $25,000. Where I go into Bloomfield Hill, well, let's go out of West Bloomfield. Let's talk about Canton. They got a couple of homes they tore down. They paid $10,000. They paid $5,000. They paid $4,000 to tear down a home. Plymouth did the same thing. Mahoney did the same thing. You know, the little small places, Redford, they did the same thing. The city, and I brought this up to the mayor as well as to the governor. If we charge you $1 to buy that home, would you buy that home? And fix it up? Okay. So this is what I told him. No, you will. Well, I tell you why. If I sold you a house for $1, you got a 3-year freeze to fix up the property. 3-year freeze. There's no property taxes for 3 years. You don't have to pay no property taxes for the next 3 years. All you got to do is fix up the house for $1. Now this has happened in Chicago. This has happened in Portland.
It's happened here in the 90s.
Well,
It's
yeah.
happened here in the 90s.
In the early 90s. If you bought the house for $1, you had a 3-year freeze for property tax. You ain't even got to pay no property tax for 3 years. How glorious is that? You come in here, buy a house, fix it up. Now in 3 years now, I'm coming. And I'm coming to get the property. If you ain't got the money. If you ain't got the money to pay the taxes, the beginning taxes after the 3rd year. Now you don't even have to pay those 3-year taxes. Those wiped away. You just now got to start at the beginning to pay those taxes. So if you bought the house then, and what's this? This is 15, 16, 17, 18. So you bought the house in 19. You ain't got to pay taxes in 20, 21, 22. All you got to do is pay taxes in 23. Now you fix the property up, because this is the mayor's deal. 6 months to do this. And the state, and we were talking about 3 years to do it. The mayor was like, Ishmael, we're not supporting you for state rep. We can't support you for doing this. You're talking crazy. I want them in 6 months so I can do my program. Okay, well, I can't do that. I gotta give them 3 years because half the people in the city of Detroit, over 72% of the population in this city is unemployed. So for within 6 months, you can't purchase a home in here. You gotta live 90 days in that home. And second of all, you gotta meet the requirements for the Detroit Land Bank to be able to keep that property. If you don't, you lose that property, you lose that investment, you lose the sense of home ownership. Now you go back to being a renter or homeless. And also, then we changed the law October 24th last year, where if you are now found in foreclosure homes, you are now eligible to be locked up for breaking and entry. A lot of you don't know that. So if you're in your home and you lose it to foreclosure, tax foreclosure, and you're still in your property, we come through, we bring in gang squad, and we arrest you for breaking and entry in your own home. So I had a meeting with them and explained it to them that it didn't make any sense for someone who makes only $14 an hour, $15 an hour, and probably even less than that, to be struggling to be paying taxes on property that hadn't been taxed, been on assessment for the last 38 years. So Mike Duggan, Governor Snyder said, well, please don't come after my job. If you decide to run somewhere else. Go to another state, because we want this deal to go through. And I told him I will be back in 3 years to run for state rep in Michigan, and also to look forward to being your mayor in the next 4 to 5 years afterwards. The idea is you can do that moment of paying $1 for your property. You fix it up in 3 years. After 3 years, that beginning tax season comes, you pay it. Now, if you can't pay it, I'm not going to hold your hands, because I've given you that opportunity. So now I'm going to take the property. I'm going to say thank you for fixing the property. Now I can sell it to somebody who want to be a homeowner. And that's, yes ma'am.
How much are those property taxes?
All property taxes today is about $3,000 to $5,000
A month?
a month.
No.
Well, no, within the year. They go spring, fall, and they go summer.
Winter.
So your winter taxes and your winter taxes and your summer taxes. So depending on where you stay.
Right.
Like 300.
Also, so yeah, about $300, $400 a month,
But if you own the house, you're not paying rent, so essentially you're paying $300 to live there.
basically.
It's
It's property taxes, but everyone has to pay property taxes. That's the law. That's the statute of the law in Michigan and any other state. You have to pay property taxes.
If you're a renter or?
Well,
No.
Tennessee.
You're
Well, that's South don't have anything anyway, so we don't worry about that. But Michigan, you have to pay property tax. That is how we utilize that money anyway, over $80 million anyway, to keep the state going as well. We use that in the state treasury fund.
You know, we need somebody to take the, when people don't pay their water bill,
Yes, ma'am.
put a lien on their house.
Yes, we do.
We need to take that off the property, of the, water bill, off of the property tax.
Oh, okay, I got you. So putting a lien on your property when you don't pay your water bill, that does happen. When you don't pay your water bill, you know. The other thing too, and I will say this to you about us politicians, we don't want you not to pay your bill.
I know that's.
We want you to pay your bill.
Right.
We make it a habit to try to figure out programs to make sure that you are able to pay the bill. The problem is, yes, with 70-some% unemployment, running rampant in the city, with people trying to figure out to have their own businesses and things of that nature to try to make disposable income, you're trying to find ways to help yourself. Those are the people that I'm fighting for to keep them going. Get rid of your cable. If you look, there's sometimes called you gotta trim the fat. If I can't afford a cell phone, you just can't afford a cell phone. You just gotta go. You gotta figure out another game plan to communication. You know, if you can't afford cable, get rid of it.
But that's not it. The water boys charge you too much. How you gonna pay $10 for water and $90 for sewage? What is this? That don't even make no sense.
Well, that's the advancement of what the city wants to do with the water department, as well as then we took away the FBI. Well, the FBI walked away, and I'll be honest with you. When the FBI walked away in 2013, 2012, 2013, because they were the regulators of how the water department was to be run. Because we were losing money, scandalously, we were losing money. And so they came in and started to reform the whole water department. And so once they walked away, the water department went back to what they were doing 10, 20 years ago.
See, it's not that people don't want to pay. Oh, no, that is not fair. That's too much money for water.
It's sewage.
Yeah.
More than the water.
But then you lose your house.
Well, then you know
And
also.
they put the tax, a lien on the house.
Yes, ma'am.
When the people owe the water bills, like, say for instance, if the house is sitting here idle.
Yes.
I wanna come through and buy the house.
Yes.
Well, the house has a big bill. So I can't rent it to nobody. If I didn't fix it up, I can't rent it because it's got a bill. I gotta take care of the bill or what?
You do.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's your responsibility. Once you
It
purchase,
shouldn't be my responsibility
Right.
because it was maybe a rental property or something.
Yes, ma'am.
And it's a bill connected to me that I didn't make or incur.
and we've had that plenty of times
Is
for
that,
people.
is that in your consideration when you're telling me that I'm gonna buy a piece of property for $1?
Yes, yes,
You have.
So it's not $1 then.
yes. Well,
There's no way I would.
and the thing is this: all bills that go to that house will be gone. That's
So
what
they
I'm
would-
saying.
Now-
would
now
expunge
that
it.
I would expunge all of that,
Okay.
just to make sure that you become a homeowner. One, the value of becoming a homeowner is more valuable than you being a renter. With all of the tax rebates and all of those things that you can get to home ownership, then I can afford to I can actually bring the water prices down. I can bring down the gas prices with DTE in them. Because now you're a homeowner. Now I can advance the tax base. See, that's what a lot of people don't understand. Once I attach the tax base, building a different structure in that area, now we don't get caught up in insurance problems. We don't get caught up in healthcare problems. All of those things start to drop down that you want to see happening in your area.
But you know who's gonna be
Yes, ma'am.
buying
Hold
that
on.
though?
To be a homeowner though, like to even buy a house, citizens a certain financial privilege that like not everyone has. You know, even as like a lower middle class job, like a teacher or something, like there's all those startup costs because to rebuild a home it costs thousands of dollars.
That's true. And that's why we implement those programs. The seed programs will come into play. Like you won't just have to come out of pocket. There's already different organizations now, like United Way and all of them are already talking to me about how we can actually start putting money into those kind of programs. That you can actually start to work forward on doing that. Just all you have to do is call, fill out the application, do it online, and then let the ball roll.
Yeah, I went through the first home buyers program and I didn't have to put nothing down. Nothing came out of my pocket when I got my house. So you could do that. And my mortgage is only $450 a month with my taxes included and my home insurance included too.
Yeah.
That's the federal program, President Obama.
That's the first time home buyers, I had talked to my real estate agent about all that. It was program, so.
Probably,
Yeah, because Wayne Metro does it. Wayne Metro is looking to get involved with this bill. Because I call it the wheelbarrow bill. That will be my first bill ever. It's called the wheelbarrow bill, so it will be able to do that.
I'm excited you're bringing that bill and the program back because I have family members who did that program in the 90s and
Yes.
still own their homes. And that's, you talking about American dream and wealth. I can see how they've worked all these years and able to keep that type of income at home.
Yes.
So that makes a big difference as far as wealth in Detroit.
Yes, ma'am.
As far as, so I'm happy and excited that you're bringing that program back.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to doing that. I mean,
you got about 15 more minutes. I want you to talk about your
Awful one,
education
this-
thing. At
okay.
the
So-
government's trying to promote.
So now we have the educational part. Thank you, Diana, for bringing that up. So we have a bill that's coming out. House Bill 4837.
Write it down, somebody.
Okay.
Or say it again.
House Bill 4837.
4837.
So this bill, which is still tabled,
Okay, so
it's
you're-
not out, can't get out yet. It's tabled. That means that it's just sitting there dormant for a minute to see how we can do that, how we can get this bill passed through. This bill will allow DPS to have two systems, an old system and a new system. The old system will have your elected officials be in that system, which is all your school board members. All of them will be in that old system. They will also collect all of the debt that DPS have in that old system.
Thought that that was,
Elena Herrera gonna be
or
there.
that was wiped out.
That still will be in this system. That will be in the old system. The other thing is that all of their schools will be alternative schools. All of them will be alternative
What does that
schools.
mean?
That means that they will be the last school that your kid will be able to go to. Like, if they don't make it out of here,
So you saying
they just gonna be unemployed, they
a
just gonna be
public
out of
school will be the
education.
last school
No, as,
Alternative.
Alternative schools are
of?
like,
Well, we still talking about the old system, right?
yes,
So the old system was, public school, weren't they?
yes.
Yeah, so what do you, I mean.
oh, I thought you
What?
missed the alternative.
Alternative though means that these will be like, kinda like,
Second chance.
yeah, they'd be like segregated schools. Like they won't get the DPS brand. They won't have the DPS funding. They won't get the large amount of money. They will get like 15 to 20% of funding going to those schools. In that system though, in the alternative school system, then they will get private funding from Skillman, other schools like that. So they will dictate to how those schools go. Skillman, United Way, other systems, they all will be kind of running that alternative school system. Universities will be involved, Wayne State, Grand Valley State, Eastern Michigan, Alma, and other school universities will be asked to kind of chime in, put their money up, and run those alternative schools. The new system, the new DPS, will have one representative from Governor Snyder, one representative from Mayor Mike Duggan, one representative from City Council, one representative from Skillman, one representative from GM, and one from Ford. And then the rest of them will be just appointed. They will just be people who have looking for
Why on
appointment.
earth,
Why would I?
why on earth are car companies getting to sit on an education board?
Well, because they have the more funds to be able to help us with this new system. Within the new system, oh, and I forgot one from, did I say the one from EAA? Yeah, one will be represented from the EAA.
What about our vote and our elected school officials sitting on this
That's
board?
what
Why
I'm-
everyone is
They will
voting?
be-
You know, I got a voice,
I understand.
vote, you know what I'm saying? But my voice is not being heard because it sounds like puppets are being put in place. They're being controlled by the governor. I mean, Skillman's controlled by the state basically. So where does my vote come in as the school elected officials? every other school district in the state has an elected board, but this DPS Detroit, why does our school district have to have this appointees when I have a vote and it's not being heard or being
Why does Mayor
exercised?
Hernandez have to live in exile?
Who?
Yeah, yeah, that's,
What are you talking?
yeah,
I'm
that's,
just saying.
no,
Yeah. And then, yeah,
So-
I can't imagine.
So this is the state superintendent, this is Darnell Early, and the emergency managers.
From
These are
Flint.
their ideas about how this is supposed to be shaped.
The EM from Flint
And you're.
That's here in Detroit.
It's in Detroit.
that poisoned the kids in Flint. Okay, in Flint.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
him. I'm scared.
And no, I'm not a big supporter, that's why it's tabled.
I'm scared.
That's why it's tabled, that's why it's not gonna see the light of day.
That's why I'm
It's
scared.
not gonna see the light.
But I'm
Yeah,
scared
'cause I
because
can't believe
he approved that in
trying to
Flint,
publish
Yeah.
and now he's here
Here to do
in
it here.
control of our children. I'm scared.
I
I
understand.
really am.
He poisoned
Well, as you may know, that in 2013, 2012, we lifted the cap off of the charter academies. The reason for that is so, in Herrera, I know, and all of Lamar Lemons and all of them guys and girls, they came at us tough. Because we lifted the cap, it was a cap of $100,000 for those charters and public academies. It was. So that was to make sure that, you just can't say, hey, you know what, I want to open up a school, and as long as I got a university behind me, I'm just gonna take this old school building and I'm gonna build a charter, or I'm gonna build an academy. Now the difference between DPS, between teachers of old and teachers of new,
Pension.
one, I don't have to worry about you working 20, 30 years in that business. So I don't have to pay you the pension. Second of all, now we're gonna go into contracting with the new teachers.
There you go.
So now, instead of having you go through human resources and you get up there and you become a teacher that way, in the public school system or charter school system, now we put you under a contract, have you work under that contract for like 2 to 5 years, and then I can buy you out if I need to. And now you're an at-will employee, because now we turn it from a union base here in the state of Michigan into an at-will.
And I'm in China. Right
And
there.
so now, you don't have to go in the union. You don't have to pay a job. You don't have to pay into the union anymore. What you do you can be still supported by the union if you are to get in trouble in your job, and you have to face your principal or someone that's in charge, supervisor. That union still has to support you without you paying union dues.
And I'm sure you do such a good job on it.
Absolutely not. I'm working in charter.
Okay, Ishmael,
Yeah.
two quick questions.
Yes.
DPO, so what would happen to the teachers you said they all are going under contract, it's just,
No, every one of them will be going under contract.
even the old ones?
Even the old ones, even if they don't want it. Now, the old ones do not want it. If the old DPS teachers do not want to go under contract, they will be terminated.
And this is all under this table bill.
That's under this new bill.
It's table.
Yeah, it's tabled.
Oh, you took it.
Our healthcare back in for people at 65 or older, can you get that to the government, to put that healthcare back in for the employees that
They
retired
don't get a
and
pension,
they're.
and they only work for 2 to 5 years,
We'll work out a
and after that
proposal.
contract.
Oh, you work out a proposal?
You don't need
Right.
they could just
Because
terminate you
healthcare.
and buy you out after like whenever your contract is
It's
up.
free healthcare or whatever, we shouldn't,
I agree to universal health care. I'm somebody else different on that, because I play basketball overseas. So
Okay.
universal health care, I love this.
You
It
couldn't
was like,
pay me.
hey, guess
Right.
what?
You could not
I got
pay
a
me.
boo-boo.
Right.
They ain't charged me
Right.
nothing. They was like, here,
Right.
work it out. Oh, yeah.
And the kids are the
Can
ones
you
who
explain
suffer.
the purpose of the 2 school districts, especially when the governor, when I graduated from King, we had a $99 million surplus.
Yes, ma'am.
So
That was under Sneak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so now we have a system where this emergency manager has created more debt. So what is the purpose of this school district when we're just creating more debt?
Well, the idea is to create stronger students. And then creating
Without
stronger
charters.
students, you have to have stronger schools.
But you can't create that with alternative learning. They're not.
Well, the alternative learning are basically, and I'll be honest with you, because we can't be honest with each other. The alternative school system is just for those kids who have social issues. They got mental issues.
So how many kids are you planning to put into this alternative?
A lot of.
Probably about like 60%.
Special
Most of
Okay,
them.
so 60.
Those who test bad in the school system.
So
stuff
60%.
like that.
Wait. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. 60% of our children are going to be claimed as emotionally or
Yeah.
distressed. Or,
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, so those labels are going to be put on our kids
Yes.
Yes.
right at the gate.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
As soon as we
They don't
like
fit
this,
for
we
the
open up
agenda.
the school
Right.
year, if this bill passed, this bill passed, Lord forbid this happen, we'll be here at the doors like waving, and they'll be coming in drooling. That's where we got this idea.
I'm passing it, guys.
And most of it, and then this is the part that I want you to understand about politics in this state, is by who is the majority. Okay, folks, this is not about voting in the general election. This is about voting in the primary election. So you can't have an Ishmael Terry in the election, in the general election, if you don't come and vote in the primary elections. 63,972 residents live in my district, District 5, State District. I cover everything from Linwood to Dexter, all the way down to Southwest Detroit and Woodmere area, all down in that area.
And you are for this bill, 48
No,
I'm
no.
not in that
Strongly
area.
against it.
He's not for it.
No. So you do not have to yell at him. He is not. He is on your side.
Oh, people work at my house.
Because her anger was just building over there.
I'm coming over there. No, man. Woo. No, so I cover that much land. I cover one of the largest districts in the city of Detroit. From Southwest Detroit all the way up to Dexter and Linwood, up to Boston and Edison. I cut off at 14, the Chicago Boulevard. Within that, hey, there go my partner in crime.
Okay, Ishmael, how were they able, like some people that they moved back into the city? I know this is like a
Chantel, go to the
thing.
bathroom.
They moved back into the city and they gave like
Bathroom break.
$1,000 off of their cost
Yes.
why didn't they do that for city employees?
Well, we gave a sweetheart, no, the mayor gave a sweetheart deal. The sweetheart deal, but people were, the police officers, fire and safety, and all of them were not for that. They was like, go back to the drawing board. This is not good. This is not what we want. So that's Dave Bean. That years ago. So we were trying to figure out another game plan to get people into these homes. But what I was saying about the education, the new education system, of course, it will have the EAA and all of them fixtures inside of the program, and they will all then dictate to how many kids come in. It will become like a voucher. So then now your kid will have to kind of figure out, your parents will have to figure out how you get that voucher and how you get that kid inside that school. And so now we tabled it. It's kind of laying there. No one wants to say, you know what, I'm gonna pull the trigger on this bill because you know that's a political nightmare. That's a you know you may.
Who introduced the bill?
We can't say. We just know it wasn't us.
How did you let friends close up?
I'm sorry.
Friends close. That's right.
I-
You've been here all of my life.
Those things are not in my control, but
But it's in our area, that's one thing.
so what I'm gonna say to y'all is this: the most important thing that you could ever do is be involved with the political function in this city or in this state. Understand it. You don't vote in the primaries. Like I said again, 698,000 residents in my district alone. Only 4,000 residents came out to vote. Only 4,000 residents came out of 63,000 residents. Okay, 4,000 residents. Think about that.
Why do you think that happened though?
Because you're put offish. You don't want it no more. You don't want to be led by what you see. And so when new people or even returning people come in and we got a new idea about how we can actually fix the problem, you don't want to hear that. So guess what? 18 to 35, I'm gonna leave you on this one, right here.
Okay.
18 to 35, because I know she covered it. 18 to 35, only 14% of you came out to vote. 18 to 45. 60 years old, 60. I'd say late 50s. 56, 57, we did the numbers. 56, 57, up to 80 years old, 80% came out to vote. So, and all of that, while you griping and fussing about what's going on, I'm gonna say this in my camera so they can see this. You can't fuss about what's going on in the city or in the state if you young people and middle-aged people. That's right. I got
It shows,
Okay,
it's only tabled into the 20th.
That's right.
So tight. Let me finish. So cause I got my other speaker here. You guys want to get out of here at 9 o'clock.
Okay, so this is what I'm imploring on y'all. Listen, it was people like Diane McMillan who pulled me by the coattail. She don't like to hear this, but it was her, it was Fred Durhall, Jimmy Womack, George Cushionberry, a lot of them who pulled me to the side in the Michigan Democratic Party, 13th and 14th, who said that you are the future. But the future cannot be supported if you don't do your part. Your part is not to fuss and argue about what's happening. It's your part to do something about it. So in 2019, 2020, I need you to get up and go vote for Ishmael Perry.
Let's take Ishmael on that note. Let's take a 5-minute stretch because my